Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for putting up with our technical difficulties here. We're still catching back up, but Google was giving us a little bit of an issue here, and as you could hear, the technical difficulties continued with the additional music. So right now, so far, looks like we've got Chris joining in.
Hey!
Hey, all right. Oh, we got Bill finally popped over here. We're finally getting in on the act, Bill. We're actually live now.
Are we really? I was looking for those Jeep grills for Josh because he's a huge Jeep guy. That's what happens when Google F's up on you. You find other things to do. Well, Drew finds the solution, which he did finally, so we are here.
Yay!
Yeah, excellent.
Secretly, that's the whole reason why we were late in the first place. It was all Bill looking for Jeep grills.
Yeah. Blame it on Bill. Hashtag blame it on Bill.
All right, and coming back once again, we have our first official reoccurring guest, Josh Sniffen.
Hey guys.
Hello.
And first-time guest, we have special with us from. Wow, my brain just completely flaked here. Bill, can you do this? I'm still a little frustrated from the...
Caselabs.net, made in the USA, yes! My favorite case manufacturer, besides NFC Systems.
You know what? They're my favorite case manufacturer, and I have my own case manufacturing company, so...
So I apologize for the short-term memory kerfuffle, Jason, but yeah, as you can imagine, I'm a little bit cheesed off at Google.
Oh, you'll be sorry.
Jay, briefly share the story of how you got involved with Case Labs and what you do with Case Labs.
So there was a little bit of a time when I worked for another case manufacturer out there. It's a small-time outfit called NZXT. But I had left them to kind of focus on school, and Jim from Case Labs came to me and asked if I wanted to join forces with him. So, we talked a bit, and I agreed to. Then, so from there, I've kind of taken over the helm of their social media accounts. I've been active on forums, and here next month, if any of you are going to PDX Land, I'll be seeing you there too.
Awesome. I wish I was going. Josh, are you going this year?
I don't think I'll be going this year. It's going to be one of my first July lands I'm going to miss, and I'm kind of bummed out about it.
Jay, what's the big news that you recently shared for Case Labs? They've got a big product release coming here down the pipeline.
Yeah. So we've got the new Bullet Series chassis. They're all meant to be compact systems. We've got 3 different chassis: the BH2, BH4, and BH7. Mini ITX, Micro ATX, and ATX respectively. These are by far our most affordable chassis, but we are also not skimping on quality here. There will be no steel on these cases. They're still the heavy gauge aluminum that we use in every single one of our cases.
I love the finish that you guys do and the fact that you do everything in your own shop. That's just amazing, and especially today in 2016, when you're really a minority in this, massive industry for this market,
Yeah, and the new colors, that you can see there on the screen: tangerine. Then we've got lime, which is the green, and berry, which is a very, very dark purple. There, it's kind of hard to see. But that's what we got coming out.
Those remind me of the classic Mopar colors, the lime green and the orange crate orange and the what was it, like passion berry or something like that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt if maybe that was the inspiration behind Jim choosing those colors, maybe.
I always like the plum crazy.
Yeah, plum crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so in those three colors are definitely a departure from our normal color schemes, which we typically go black, gunmetal gray, or white. And this time around, we've gone with kind of more eccentric colors as options. And then later on down the line, we may even switch those colors out for other colors. So, you know, and customers who do order stuff from us shouldn't be afraid if we do switch colors, because, you know, if we do, we can always offer the parts that they need to order as replacements, the same way they ordered them the first time.
You used to offer like primer finishes for anybody that did DIY custom painting. Do you still do that?
Currently not, no. I mean, we have teamed up with some modders out there and done that for them, since they're going to be doing heavy-duty paint jobs. But the primer is you know, being the small shop that we are, we have to deal with a single paint booth. And so with powder coating, you know, you have to break everything down, you have to clean everything, you have to clean the nozzles, get a new color loaded, spray that color, and then you have to repeat the process for every single color that you're switching out to. It's not just a simple spray booth where you take cans into. So, you know, in order to meet production demands, you know, it was decided going forward that the majority of cases would be done in colors. Now, whether we're going to bring primer back once we kind of expand the shop, I don't know. Jim has been talking about expanding or moving the facility to a newer location that's a larger and can meet more production. So that's something that may come down in the line in the future here.
You mentioned modders, and that's how a lot of people discover Case Labs, is through modders, and they've seen projects done on different community forums, which falls into our topic today, which is about sharing tips for anybody looking to get sponsorship from companies. And so we've got Josh here. Mosquito's gotten sponsorship. I've gotten sponsorship. I've given sponsorships. Jay, you've been on both ends. You've been both doing a project and reached out for sponsorship on it, and you kind of like watch the community to see who are potential candidates to be sponsored by Case Labs, right?
Absolutely, and the big part is seeing what people are doing out there. I like seeing new things, things that haven't been tried before, things that kind of go outside of your normal builds. For example, you know, 2 years ago, hardline tubing in a build was almost unheard of.
Yeah.
You know, it was very hard to come by. Now it's becoming very normal. It's very mainstream, and I feel that modders are directly responsible for that, because manufacturers picked up on it and said, "Hey, that is a great idea. Let's make our own hardline tubing kits." And you know, so that's just one example. But you know, there's so many different things. People, you know, take cases and they flip them, or they, you know, take parts off of them, or add new parts that they made themselves through 3D printing or metal work that they do themselves. So if I see something that's unique out there, I like to reach out to that person and see what we can do in the future.
What advice would you guys give somebody before they even decide to reach out to a company for sponsorship? Because a lot of our audience that's watching, these are guys that are getting in the hobby and they think, you know what, I'm good enough now, I've got some experience, maybe I can find somebody to kind of help support the hardware here, take a little bit of the pressure off my finances for stuff. What should they have done already, or should they be doing before they approach you for sponsorship?
Josh, you want to go for this one? I'll come in, but I want to see what your thoughts are.
I guess there's two different perspectives. One, becoming a professional modder. I don't know what that term means exactly, but seeking out sponsorships. From that angle, you have to be in the mindset of service. How are you serving the company to which you're asking sponsorship for? There's a lot of people that it seems like they just want to have a bunch of free stuff thrown at them, and they're going to build a computer system and it's going to be great, take some pictures, but that's not what it's about. It's about how are you actually enabling that company to sell more of their product. And the kickback is that you're getting to have a mod done for cheap or reduced cost. So think about how you're going to be helping that company out. It would be maybe through your contacts. You're going to be doing all the legwork in forums, posting your build, saying thank you to my sponsors. You're going to be running the Twitter campaign, maybe the Facebook campaign. You're going to introduce it to new markets. If you speak a different language, for example, that could be really, really, really handy and helpful. But think about it from a business perspective. How are you serving that company? Mm-hmm. And people have come to me now for NFC Systems for sponsorship, which I think is funny. I'm really small, but I'm working it through. And it's like you said, Jason, I want to see somebody that can do something out of the box, unique. I can build my own computers, so how can we work together to where I can take your best talent and we can get my product out there, and you also have the ability to get a system that you're really wanting to build. So I guess those are my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I think the most important thing is, and Jay's mentioned this in the past, is that you'd better have previous work that you've done already and be willing to invest out of your own pocket with that work before you start reaching out for sponsorship, because if you're coming from nowhere and you're not even on a community forum, you're not even in social media, you've got no previous work, and you're asking for something, that email is going to get ignored.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've used several analogies in the past to describe it, but I think I came up with a new one that I like a little more. Is asking for sponsorship when you've done nothing, when you don't have any builds out there on forums, or let's say you even have a build, but it's not the most glamorous thing out there. Asking for sponsorship at that point, it's like you were playing baseball with Grandpa in the backyard, and then you asked the Major League Baseball Association to be on the New York Yankees. You don't make that leap.
No.
And nobody makes that leap. So what you really have to do is, and this is true for every modder who has ever become sponsored and who's a big name out there, you have to put forward your money first, your work first, and show that what you are capable of, and then push those skills and push those builds to your sponsors and say, hey, look, this is what I can do. This is what I can offer you. These are the channels that I'm associated with. Would you like to sponsor my build? And at that point, you may get a yes, you may get a no. If you get a no, don't let that be discouraging. Take that in stride and say, okay, maybe there's something else I can do, or maybe someone else will be willing to sponsor this project. But it all comes down to your own time and your own money first.
Jay, would you say that social media has really been a game changer for people seeking sponsorship, because it's a way now that you can actually connect with a manufacturer versus email? It was very easy to ignore those emails, but on social media it's a little bit harder to ignore some people.
It is, but there's pros and cons to everything, and social media included. There's been a number of people that I've met through forums. There's been a number of people that I've met through social media because of their builds or their work, and so overall I feel social media for our industry, it's a more positive influence than even, say, forums, because there are a lot of people on social media, even more so than forums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true, and it's a very quick feedback situation with your audience. From my perspective, and I've sponsored people on and off through the years, is being a small business, like you guys too, I'd say Case Labs is much bigger than me, is I need all realms. I need both social media and community forums if I'm going to sponsor somebody for exposure. And it's important that they drive traffic to my store, not just by mentioning or putting my logo, but actually having a URL that goes to my store. So in turn, Google sees that activity on that URL and it gets better indexed in search results. So for me, if you want to get sponsorship, and the thing is, I'm really, really picky about who I'll sponsor, and the people that I've sponsored, they'll tell you that I'm kind of, it's hard to make me happy. I send everybody through a bunch of hoops before I'll send the stuff, because I've gotten burned in the past by people that I thought would follow through, but either a life situation came, financial situation came, and then they couldn't finish the project. And it happens, I understand that. But before I send that stuff out, I'm going to have them do some obligations to it, so at least I'm ensured that I'm getting some type of exposure first. But I would say anybody out there looking to take on that next big project build and have some sponsorship, you want to have exposure in all channels, community forums, and I'll say it right off the bat, overclock.net and bittech.net, which are two of the largest forums in the world for getting exposure. And then, of course, the Modu and all the other little community forums that will allow you to post a sponsored build. You got to be careful because some forums, they have requirements. They don't. They either want you to pay a fee for that sponsored work log area, or they don't like people blatantly advertising their sponsors. Jay, you know all about that with overclock.net.
Oh yeah, and that's a point of contention that I don't think they're ever going to change their point of view on. Overclock.net is just as much of a business as anywhere else.
Yeah.
And they're going to make their money off of advertising, and that's going to be true whether it's from the company themselves or people who are sponsoring builds to put forward in their community. I can kind of see both sides to it, why they would want to do that. At the same time, I do feel that it does impact quite a few people negatively, especially, you don't go to a company and ask for a product and then on top ask for a sponsorship fee. So that company is already giving you a product. Why would they give you money to showcase that product as well? That's what your job is, and so I think it puts a lot of modders off. I mean, I
paid that fee. I paid that fee for a couple of people.
Right, and but that puts a lot of people off. A lot of people don't want to share their sponsored builds there simply because they have to pay a fee to put their build there. So I understand it's a business. They do have a business to run. Do I necessarily agree with it? No, but that's not my call. It's their decision.
Yeah, I'm a member of all those communities, and I really like them and respect them, but I don't post my builds on any of them because of those reasons. So I don't know if they want builds like mine up on there, and if they don't, that's great, but I just...
Well, and that's kind of a... I would hope that they would want everybody's builds on there, because the more builds that you have out there, the more inspiration you have for other people.
And I think it also drives the community, and maybe it gets more viewers in there. That's why I signed up to forums to begin with, is because they had cool builds on them, I didn't care if they were sponsored or not when I was trying to research and learn and suck in all that art, but I respect their business decisions. I just be showing off any of my mods there.
I think one of the things that, so the way I look at it, there's the three main areas of communities. You have OCN, which is just OCN, overclock.net. That's all they do is that. So they have to make their advertising money, or they don't make any money. And then there's sites like us at the Mod Zoo where we're just here because we wanted a community that wasn't one of those. And so we just kind of do whatever and don't make any money. But then there's also BitTech, who doesn't charge for any sponsorships or sponsored work logs, but they were at one point also associated for the longest time with, what was it, Custom PC Magazine or PC, whatever they're...
Yeah, they had the advertising dollars coming in.
Yeah, so they were associated, so that helped drive content to the magazine and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it all depends on what it is, I guess.
I think the problem in our industry, though, is that magazines and publications are becoming less and less prevalent as digital media takes over our lives.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we only have, for what we do as a hobby, we only have one venue published, and that's CPU Magazine, that covers what we do. You know, and last I heard, they were at 65,000 subscribers. Now, I don't know what that is for their digital publication, but, you know, and to be honest with you, 65,000, yeah, it's not as much as it used to be. But nonetheless, CPU Magazine, it's kind of like the go-to magazine for everybody I know that follows, like, at least custom builds. Josh has been featured in there. I've had some builds featured in there. Moss, you have yet to have featured in there, right? Where have you been?
No, I have not been featured in CPU.
All right, well, we got to change that, right? Change that. Anyways, it is the one publication, because Maximum PC years ago used to do the rig of the month or build of the month. They don't do that anymore. But you know, yes, it's a valid point that you make, Jay, in regards to publications. Now, today, because the landscape has changed so much in regards to the online community for PC modding, that if you're seeking sponsorship, you want to have a dedicated Facebook page to, like, your modding persona. There's a lot of people on Facebook that, I do projects a lot, I don't want to use my personal page, I'll create this persona for me, or a fan page for my stuff, and people can follow you through that. And then they'll have a Twitter account, and then they'll have a YouTube channel. People more and more are gravitating towards YouTube to post their project builds, either as stages of the build or when it's completed. Because YouTube is owned by Google, there's chances of that being found in a search under the keyword terms for the title. So if you're looking at getting into more sponsorship, is leverage your exposure across all platforms. If you come to me, that's what I'd be really interested in to know, is, like, are you doing YouTube channel videos as well? Are you skilled with multimedia? Is it not just photo taking, but you can actually do videos as well? And Josh is a great example of somebody that you just started doing video work logs on your channel, Josh.
About 2 years ago. I guess they only started rolling out last year. Maybe even this year. I got a backlog of stuff.
Well, I noticed that, and what you did is you worked with Sapphire, and Sapphire published your videos on their channel.
That's correct.
Which brought you a lot of views, because you had launched right before Computex, your one build that you did, and I saw the views are pretty good, you know. So you got to really, like I said, leverage out what you do, not just the building and modding. And it used to be just taking pictures and having a good host and putting them on a community forum. Now it's like, now I got to video stuff too. Now I got to tweet stuff. I mean, that's the way it is that everybody's taking advantage of all these free tools to use. And I see it from, you know, having an account on Twitter. I get people tweeting at me, you know, hey man, what do I need to do to get something like that, you know, and, you know, stuff like that. So
I still gotta figure out what Twitter actually is. It's so weird hearing about it, but never actually been to the website.
Well, when you start an account, Josh, let us know so we can help you out and get some followers to you.
As long as I don't have to use a cell phone, because I can't work mine. So.
A cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay, Moss, you've gotten sponsorship too. You went out and gained sponsorship on your own. Can you share any of the tips on how you did that?
I guess similar to what Jay said, I think the first time I got sponsored was my visible contrast, which was done in an NZXT case. So I ended up, for those who had never seen it, I ended up with a pretty much completely white interior. And at the time, there were very few white power supplies, so I ended up going to NZXT and contacting them eventually to get a power supply from them that was white, because I basically threw it out there like saying, hey, so I'm doing this mod in one of your computer cases, and everything is white on the inside, the case is white, and I was hoping to find a white power supply. Is this something that you'd be interested in partnering with me? And, so I just kind of went from there. But before I even asked them, I think I had probably a good 60 or 75% of the case already done. Like I had taken it and put an LCD side panel window, so it had like a see-through monitor on the side. And so I had most of that already done. I had a lot of the modifications to the case already done. So I had progress to show them to say, hey, this is where I'm at. Would you be interested in jumping on with this one? And even before I did that mod, I had at least probably 4 or 5 done before that. So I don't know. To me, it's keeping things realistic, I guess. Don't go in expecting like, I'm doing this mod, so I'm going to get everything from everybody. Like, I've never had more than one thing, I don't think. Well, 2, I guess. 2 things sponsored from in any one mod. Like, I've had a power supply and some case feet once. I had RAM and case feet again. And I've had just RAM in another one. And so I've not really gone after big sponsorships. It's just kind of like if I see an idea or if I see something that's cool and I, might go talk to whoever makes that and say, hey, so I've noticed that nobody else really has orange RAM. And one of my builds had an orange internal theme. So I reached out to G-Skill and they were kind enough to sponsor some Aries series RAM, which was orange, which at the time not very many else did.
How did you reach out to them? Just like go through their website or?
Usually I end up going through the website. One of the things is persistence.
Yeah.
You kind of have to. I've never asked anybody. Like I'm pretty sure I've never asked Bill, for example. Bill has probably the most contacts out of anybody I know in this hobby, or I guess profession in Bill's case. But I've never asked Bill, hey, can you introduce me to somebody that I can ask for free hardware? Like I've never
that's
tried.
the hardest to do. Like if people ask me to share my industry contacts, I don't
feel
good about that. It's not because I don't want to share them, but because it's not really right. It's not your place, You have a relationship with somebody.
You don't want to upset anybody and burn bridges because if they didn't follow through and they use your name, because they're going to use your name most likely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep,
and all of my relationships are relationships. Like I've never emailed a sponsor. I've met them in person at a show or something like that. So I feel like that's something that's sacred, if you will. So I wouldn't want to just throw out some other guy's contact information and just for free hardware.
Yeah, I think Jay would agree with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while we're on this subject of contacts, so I saw something, and it's come up multiple times in the past, and something that just came up over this weekend. And Bill, I believe you're probably aware of it, is people out there taking advantage or trying to take advantage of professional modders. People who are sponsored, who have been featured in magazines and online and even, in commercials. This came up this weekend where a very popular modder who kind of set the tone and the inspiration for desk mods. I believe Lep Desk.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Never heard of Peter Brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. He
who's in our chat right now.
and I don't mean to throw him out here, but this is just something that I've seen on social media and in forums where people will go to these modders and ask them for hardware and them for contacts.
Yeah, right.
And be like, well, you get it all for free. Why can't I have it? It's people like you that make it harder for newcomers to start out. That is completely
whatever.
This was the Facebook conversation of the week, in my opinion.
All right, this sounds good. I like it. Well, where did it go?
I'm not sure where the end result came or went, but let me just for the viewers out there, never ever treat other modders or companies with that kind of disrespect. Nobody owes you anything, especially not these pro modders. All of these guys have their full-time jobs, they've got families, they've got homes, and they've done all the work and put their money forward to get to where they are. So going to them and asking them for handouts, come on. That is so disrespectful.
Oh, man.
Not to mention, like, it's not modders like that are making it hard for newcomers. It's modders like that make it possible for newcomers. Like, hey, have you guys, if nobody ever asked for sponsorship, nobody ever had great builds to get sponsorships, nobody would ever get sponsored because it's like, hey, nobody's tried that yet. So it's
We
kind
want to
of
grow the
around.
industry as big as possible.
Yeah.
The bigger the industry, the more chance there is for modders. But the thing that holding modders back more than anything is the modders themselves. You have to, if you really, really want it, go work for it. Like if you saw my very first, I hate to name drop my own videos again, but that was the first episode that I did. I really hate NFCsystems.com name dropping my series. Not from Concentrate. Go watch it after the show. But the point of it was that, I worked 3 minimum wage jobs. I quit my real job so I could be doing this, and so I had the flexibility to go to events and shows, and because I was in love with it.
You love it, man.
And I got turned down over and over and over again, and rightly so, because I wasn't ready. I didn't have a good project build. I wasn't able to work in 3D to show, the vendors, this is what the project's going to look like. I couldn't give them a plan about this is when it's going to be done and when you can expect to use it on your social media. I didn't have all the things in place. And it is a lot of luck, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more hard work involved, I think, than anything.
I think what you mentioned earlier is, and in the chat too, Gary Murphy mentioned this too, you have the advantage, or you've taken the advantage of meeting potential sponsors face-to-face at events.
Absolutely.
So
I used to travel all across the United States, went to every LAN party I could, all the major shows, which was pretty challenging, difficult, and very expensive. It's like I didn't have the money to do that. If I wanted to do that, I'd go work a night shift. I got a job at Home Depot for a little bit so I could work in the evenings, It's expensive to do. And then you go and you meet the people and you're polite and you show them your work when they have time because they're very busy, very stressed out. But you got to work for it. And
real quick, like I said before, I don't mean to throw Peter Brands out there. I have nothing but respect for the guy. He has never been anything but kind and very gracious anytime I've talked to him. He is an absolute boon of knowledge when it comes to this industry and high-end builds. So, the story I'm telling here isn't a dog on him. It's really going after the people who are trying to take advantage of him because he is so nice and he is so knowledgeable. And I'm just tired of seeing people who have worked so hard to get where they are being taken advantage of.
Well, one thing is that somebody like Peter who works with a lot of the well-known brands, especially like liquid cooling components, is that in my experience, and I'm sure Peter's experienced this too, when somebody reaches out to them, they may ask Peter, is this guy legit? Do they do good work? Or gal. That's one thing too. If you're a cute gal in this hobby, there's advantages there because there's not enough women doing this hobby, and so if you're talented in modding and you're cute to boot, you've got a little advantage over the majority of us guys out here. I mean, and there's
Bill, are you saying I'm not cute?
Yes. Well, I'll mention Zoya Dog. Those of you, when I say Zoya Dog, she's done really excellent work. She's in Sweden. She's done a couple of work logs. She's beautiful. She's talented. Hey, as a manufacturer, why wouldn't you want somebody like that using your product and mentioning it? Anyways, my point is that a lot of these manufacturers, especially like liquid cooling, they're not stupid. They will do a little research, and I know EK has. EK is just not going to shill out free stuff. They want to actually know, okay, is this person legit? Do they have a profile on the prominent community forums? Do they have a YouTube channel? Also, I know I've had a friend that was sponsored by EK, and maybe some of you in the chat as well, is EK will follow up with you to see how things are going. They want to make sure that you're going to finish that project that they're associated with.
And that's the big thing, is make sure that you can sell your idea to the vendor with a plan by showing them exactly how the thing is going to come together. Because if you're just say, I have a great idea for a computer case, a computer mod, okay, but there's 10,000 other modders that also are coming to us saying that. So show the actual plan from start to finish of what's going to happen and then how you're going to promote it. I would never, ever, ever go to a vendor without 3D now, so they can actually look at the finished product and be able to imagine it and see their product brand displayed on it. You don't always have to go with what you came up with to present to them, but sell the idea.
Yeah, and you're now in a spot, Josh, that you've created a portfolio that people can refer back to, so it's much more comfortable when you reach out to somebody. You're like, man, I've actually got a history now, and I've worked with some major companies that helps. And another thing is, what I've learned too is when you get an established name, some of these companies, they work with partners in the industry, and they will help introduce you to their partners. So you don't have to send the email and introduce who you are.
Absolutely.
But you've got to get to that point, and that requires investing a lot of your own money, like some of the guys in the chat have mentioned. They had to invest out of their own pocket in their projects to get a name for themselves, So, yeah, it's so. If you could just share one bit of advice for anybody that's watching this and they're thinking about asking a manufacturer, what's that advice you guys could share? One thing.
I would say, and this kind of holds true with Case Lab's initiative on sponsoring people, is have at least 3 build logs of 3 different systems that you've done to show variation or your style. And there are so many different aesthetic qualities out there you as a modder could take on. I mean, there's out of this world builds like Bill, you've done with like the Alien theme PC and the Blade Runner PC. There's more elegant, kind of very minimalist designs out there.
Like Snef. Is it Snef or Snurf?
Yeah, Snef Computer Designs.
Yeah.
So really find what your niche is in this whole thing and make it yours, and have at least 3 projects lined up and with credible build logs that you can link those manufacturers to that you're asking for sponsorship, and say, hey, these are the 3 builds I have. What do you think? And then this is my plan that I have for this upcoming build. Would you be willing to sponsor me? I think the 3 build rule is something that's a really good starting point for people.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean just hack 3 things together and throw it out there so you have 3. Right. 3 proper, you actually put in a lot of time and finished product into it. Yeah. And I think part of that too is it just gets you ready. As I guess for me, it probably may not happen to everybody, but anytime I'm doing anything for somebody else, especially in this hobby, computer hobby, where you're getting stuff from a manufacturer, you want to do things even better to show them than you do just for yourself. So that's kind of the thing, is just make sure you step up and really do everything you can to make sure that everything is done to the best of your abilities, and not just say, close enough, they'll be fine.
Yeah, really.
You know?
Yeah. I was going to say is, okay, because we're going to have people that are going to see this video over coming weeks, coming years, through YouTube. They're going to discover it. Drew, you keep shaking your head. No, Bill, don't say it. Don't say it. No, what I want you guys to do, and you don't have to, but what I want you to do is I want you to share one company with everybody that maybe somebody will stand a chance with getting a response from and getting sponsored by. Share one company at least. You don't have to share the names or email addresses, but a company that has sponsored other modders and is receptive to working with us in the community. I'll start it. You're all kind of like, I don't know, Bill. I just said I can't give up any of those contacts. All right. Asus is a good company. However, they're going to want all the requirements that we've mentioned. They want to see that you've got a good history. You've done some build logs, and you've got a YouTube channel or a Twitter account. You're on social media. A company that a couple years ago kind of bombed into Facebook is the memory company of Vixer. You guys, are you familiar with them?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when they bombed on the Facebook where they had a rep everywhere you turned?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, Jay, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So there's one company right there, the DDR company, Vixer, and actually their DDR is pretty dang cool. They had sponsored the Deep Cool Tri-Stellar that I did last year, and they're doing cool stuff. So that's one company. Try connecting through them through Facebook if you can't find an email through their site. So you got Asus, Vixer. Another company I've seen that's receptive is XSPC and Alpha Cool. That's 4 companies right there, everybody. Alpha Cool, XSPC, Vixer, and Asus.
I guess one of the reasons I didn't say anything before is because I don't really know if that's the best way of going about it, just because I think you could really make a relationship with almost any company. It'd be almost faster to say which companies are not receptive to
Intel. Intel. Everybody hear that? Intel.
I don't know what you're talking about. I had a sponsorship from Intel. No, not really. It was competition winnings. Doesn't count.
Yeah, Intel could be an entirely different topic in another Hangout experience.
My quick tip is build a relationship, because that's what these companies really want. They want somebody that they can trust to get the project done, that they can rely on and come to for other projects, especially in a short time frame. And they just want a lot of openness and honesty between the two. You know, if you're just kind of going after because you want some free graphics cards, I got some bad news. Most of the sponsorships you're going to get, you're not going to get to keep anything that you build. You're going to be shipping it out to the vendors. There are exceptions, of course, but for the most part, it's a business relationship. So focus on that aspect first.
And that's even if they're willing to ship to you in the first place.
Yeah, no, you do your mod and then send it to us. We'll put the graphics cards in it, show it, and then send you your mod back, hopefully, and all the pieces that you got sent to us.
You don't do that. You know what, guys and gals? There's no reason why you can't start local either. Local businesses, local resources for services, whether it be laser cutting, water jet cutting, powder coating, custom painting. They can also be sponsors for your project as well, and you get that opportunity to meet them in person to explain to them what you're doing. So don't discount like local opportunities.
Well, if you have any of those.
You don't have any of those?
Oh, I live in Maine, dude. I might be in a city, but I'm in the middle of nowhere.
I live in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I found them. It was hard because no one had a Facebook page or a website, and they weren't in the phone book. But
Phone book, what's that?
Drew, I know you've got auto parts shops there in Maine, I'm sure.
Yes, I have actually used them to find a couple of good sources for paint and things like that. You just with I guess it mirrors what you've said. You just got to get in there and talk to the people, and you find your little shops, and they'll know people who know people. So, well, yeah, I do live in the middle of nowhere. I would eventually be able to network my way around and be able to find whatever I needed to do. I would just need to dig a little bit deeper than most people who live in areas where you can track down through the yellow pages and whatnot.
Well, and the good thing about once you get, even if it's a small sponsorship, say you get a sponsorship from Home Depot for rattle cans for your paint, and your project comes off, and your project is just killer. You have that sponsor, and other companies, when you go and show your build logs off and say, yeah, I was only sponsored by Home Depot, but I had a sponsorship. Look how my project turned out. Other companies are going to be like, we'll give you a shot. It's a little bit easier once you start building upon those relationships that you have already established.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Here's the thing, too, resources. Boogles McGee in the chat mentions, I'm in North Dakota. There's no laser here. I'm sure you probably Boogles, check the yellow book. I'm sure in North Dakota you still use the yellow book, right? We all have the yellow pages. Look under metal finishing or metal
sign making. Really, every sign shop I know has a laser cutter.
Yeah, definitely have a vinyl film plotter. But Moss, do you recall that company that we talked about a couple years ago, that online company that offers laser cutting?
This would be a perfect segue to go into our Monkey Minutes, Bill, because that's actually the exact one that I had lined up for today. Yeah.
That's another one, too. Hey, everybody. Greg, one of our staff members, he has a laser, and he's looking to do laser work, laser etching, laser cutting. He does, and it's acrylic. He can't laser metal, but the smartcomputerstore.com. And this is another one. I can't remember what state they're in, but yeah, Ponoco, they offer laser cutting. But yeah, the smartcomputerstore.com, and in this outfit here, and they've worked with RoboDuck, aka Scott Bruns. They've done work for him, and I think also Darth Beavis has used them too. I may be wrong about that.
FabTech? Maybe?
FabTech?
I think that was the local one, maybe? I don't remember.
FabTech or FapTech?
Definitely a B.
Okay. Right.
That's a completely different shop, man.
Gary Murphy's mentioning V1 Tech in Dallas. They offer laser. I think they have a 3D printer as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And if you live in a larger community, look around for any of the maker spaces and hacker spaces.
Yes, good call.
A lot of these shops are going to have 3D printing, and they'll teach you how to do it. They will teach you how to go through the CAD creation process, all of the modeling, everything from making it, just getting the initial design out onto paper, so to speak, up through to teach you how to finish it, make it look proper. These shops are great. Unfortunately, I don't have one near me, but I think the nearest one to us is in Boston. But they're definitely a great thing to go to, and it's a great community building experience too, because you're going to meet so many people who have no idea what computer modding may be, but you'll plant that seed in their head, and they'll go out and they'll start their explorations, and in turn, they're going to tell you about quadcopters or whatever else they happen to be working on at the moment.
That was an excellent suggestion, makerspaces. So what the Moss brings up, the Monkey Minute. And because we got delayed with the lunch, we can go right into the Munkying Around, where each of us share about a minute of something we've discovered over this last week that we think you, our audience, would be interested in.
And we even have a groovy little theme for that. All right, who wants to go first?
Well, I already sort of mostly showed mine, but I can show it again. So the one that I had lined up was Pinocchio, which is what Bill was talking about. They're an online site that you can basically you upload your files to them, and then they cut it out and send it to you. And the price is based on what you have cut. Their pricing is mostly based on like the linear distance of laser cutting, which sounds weird, but it kind of makes sense because it's based on the calculated time that it's going to take. So if your design is hugely intricate, there's tons of curves and all kinds of stuff, it's going to be more expensive than if you're just cutting out a couple of squares, which if you're cutting out a couple of squares, buy a jigsaw. But anyway, so this one, it's actually fairly cheap. I had something done there once to see what it was like, and I think my total ended up only being like $29, and it was after shipping, and there was, I think, 7 panels, but
wow.
They were all pretty small though, so they weren't very big, but they have a whole big list of stuff that they can do. I think they can also do 3D printing as well, and they have a bunch of tips on how to design and maximize your cost, I guess, get the most out of your cost. So for example, if you can design it in a way that you kind of share lines and stuff, so that way you have one cut that does the left side of one panel and the right side of the other panel will do that because it's half the cost. But yeah, they have all kinds of different materials that they can etch and cut and all kinds of fun.
PTG. Yeah, they got everything. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and the price is also dependent on what you're doing as well.
Sure. And I'm sure they'll help you with your file format, if you're having difficulty with it, or yeah. So, and they've been around for a while.
Yeah, like a couple years now, I think.
Did they have bamboo on there?
Yes, I think it's bamboo and kind of like a plywood style.
Like a laminate, or?
This is a veneer.
There you go.
Bamboo, yeah. So this awesome. Is just under 1/8 inch thick.
Mm-hmm.
This one's just over 1/4. But yeah, and it's the time frame depends on. They have a thing if you're serious about this and you're going to be using it a lot. They have this Prime thing, which is $40 a month, but it reduces your rate and increases the efficiency. So it takes less time for you to get your orders and stuff, and your fees are a little bit lower, and with all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like an Amazon Prime. You get discounts on different things, but yeah. So that's a cool one if you're looking for one-off laser stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good one. I got to remember to use that as a referral. So, Jay, did you have something you wanted to share too?
Yeah, and it's nothing really tech related. I kind of like things that make life easier. And this is something I've actually had for, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years now. It's called an Exotac free key system. All right, so kind of see that guy there? I'm going to try and bring me up here on the screen. All right. So you see that guy there? Instead of your normal key ring, which has kind of looks like this guy. There we go.
I see him trying to deal with the reverse camera thing.
All right, so your typical key ring, which is a total pain in the ass to deal with. Everybody's been there. It's hard to pry these things apart. It's hard to get things on. This thing has an indent.
Oh.
So we can just
clever
press on one side, and it comes right out.
Nice. Where do you get those at?
So I got these on. I'm trying to think of the website. What is it? Massdrop.com.
Oh, okay.
And if you're going to buy a system, there's rip-offs that are available on Amazon. Don't buy the rip-offs. Buy the Exotac system.
Okay.
These guys, I believe, all of their stuff is made in America. It's all original design. It, isn't copied and mass-produced. So, look for Exotac. EXOTAC.
By the way, Jay, somebody in the chat, Steel Fractal, asked, does Case Labs have any retailers in Europe or Scandinavia?
This is a very good question, and we will actually be having a European distributor come online here.
Woo!
And it looks like here within the next 2 to 4 weeks, we'll have a European distributor.
That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
World domination for Case Labs.
That's awesome. You gotta start distributing my cases for me now.
Hey, you know what?
Hey, there could be a partnership.
Yeah.
In the future.
Just saying.
Why not?
We'll have to have a sit down and chat over a beer sometime.
Absolutely.
Excellent. What about you, Josh? What do you got this time around?
Okay, so I was going to show you guys Quick Glow, which is the best chrome polish that I've ever used in my life, and I just restored my buddy's bike that was completely rotted out from sea salt down here. I mean, I thought it was done, and this stuff is amazing. You can get it off Amazon, you can get it off eBay. It's called Quick Glow. It's an American-made product. And I like the heavy stuff. It's the original, the heavy stuff. And that's what makes it special, because otherwise there's a billion other metal polishes. But if you really got to get some really destroyed, dingy chrome or metal brought back that just looks like it's not coming back to life, this stuff is actually magic. But the kind of top of the conversation changed, and I want to share some of my resources for laser and water jet cutting, to where you don't actually have to have one local, but these guys will accept your files, talk to you on the phone, and then ship you your product after it's already cut for you. So first of all, everyone's talked before about Delvey's plastics.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows Delvey's. They actually do laser work now. So if you submit them, a Illustrator file or a DXF, they can cut you out your acrylic for you and ship it right to you, so you don't have to deal with sending anybody anything. For WaterJet, talk to my guys at Accurate Edge, and you want to write this email down since I can't link it, but it's stclairp@bellsouth.net. That's Patrick. He's an awesome guy and will totally help you through your project. And these guys can cut up to 15 inches solid steel. So they got you covered as far as WaterJet goes. And they can get the material for you and then ship it out to you. So again, you don't need to have to walk into a store in Maine. And then finally, I want to share Mercury Tool. They're in Waco, Texas, and my contact there is Jack A. Peck at mercurytool.com, and they built bombers in World War II for the good guys. They know what they're doing. They have a huge manufacturing floor space, but I mean, it's down-to-earth country type of relationships. They have like a trailer basically it's like 100 billion years old that you walk into and you talk to the guys and they will help you out. They got an awesome laser bed now that does like industrial laser cutting. It's low oxygen metal and all that kind of stuff, so you can get nice clean edges. They can fold your parts for you, whatever. But those are my 3 contacts, and you don't need to live next to any of them. They'll do all your work and ship it to you. And they all work in small quantities. So if you're just doing one mod.
Yeah, that's what we need. Work with the little guy.
Yep.
Good one. Drew, you had something up on your screen. I got a preview.
Yep. There we go. So I know we're all nerds here at some level or another, and anyone who grew up in the '80s watched Voltron, and we've had it was about 7 years ago now. There was a remake that was released, and I wasn't very impressed with it. They didn't do as good a job as they could have with the storytelling, and it just mostly didn't hold up with what I remembered the original show to be. Not that the original show was as good as I remember it to be, but the DreamWorks team got together with Netflix, and they've got a new Voltron Legendary Defender, which does hold up to what I remember. It's really good storytelling. They throw out a lot of little things for the kids, a little slapstick humor here and there, but for the most part, if you remember Voltron being a fantastic show, check out the Netflix version. They did a really good job.
Okay. I can still hear the theme song playing in my head. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Peter Cullen voiceover is no longer there, but the new show, it really does hold up.
All right, I think that leaves me for my... This is something I discovered this week because I had an application that I needed it for. And it's amazing. It's called flexible tubing. And what's really amazing about it is you don't need to heat it up to bend it. And you can actually get like somewhat decent curve on it. So you check
I've never heard of this stuff.
What is this black magic, Bill?
I'm telling you guys, I've saved so much time using this, and you know what? It's cheap, and you can cut it with a scissor, not a hacksaw.
Can the end user work on it, or do they have to have amazing bending skills and lots of equipment?
No, you don't need any special tools or skills. All you need is a scissor, and you can cut it to the size you need, and then what I really like about it is that if you got like really tight nooks or crannies in your build and you need to access the fitting on a GPU block and maneuver it around, it's really great that way. And I found out that this I got at Coolants.com, but I think other stores will be stocking it soon as well.
Is this expensive stuff?
No, I think it's only like maybe $1 a foot, maybe if that, $1 a foot. It's called
unless you buy the best stuff, from Primo Chill, but if it existed.
Yeah, well, hopefully Primo Chill looks at how great this stuff is and they consider making it,
And this has been a recommendation from 1998.
This is how I feel about the new rigid tubing craze.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up this Hangout. Thank everybody for watching. I love watching the chat and how busy that was.
Yeah, that was awesome today, guys. That was sweet.
Yeah, when we can't actually keep up and you've got to scroll back to see what's going on in there, that's a good sign that we've got people watching.
True that.
And again, we want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we ran into getting started half an hour late, but we finally figured it out. Well, okay, I finally bashed my head against the wall enough times that the show started.
We actually have to thank Microsoft for getting the show going.
Well, they were kind of an intermediate step. I ended up back on Chrome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And all three of the major browsers choked out on this, so nobody really accepts the blame.
Oh, dude, you should have totally gone with Edge browser. That's like the way going forward.
Well, I was about to fire up my Hackintosh.
Let's let everybody know where they can follow Jay and Josh. Jay, your social media channels where they can follow Case Labs on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah. So on Twitter, it's Case Labs USA. On Facebook, it's simply just Case Labs. So check either out. I know there's a lot of people out there who won't use Facebook, and you're okay. That's why we have a Twitter account too.
All right. And we're going to get Josh on Twitter eventually, right?
Eventually.
I've already been tweeting at Josh. He hasn't been responding. He's such a jerk.
Oh, you know what? I actually looked to see if Josh was on there, and there is another NFC Systems at NFC Systems. I don't know what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
so
I've never
you
signed
have
up for
to.
Twitter.
So
Never.
So maybe if you do start an account, have an underscore, and you'll also if.
Is he good? Like, is his stuff better than mine?
I didn't even go that far. I noticed that the logo, the little icon, didn't look like your NFC logo, which you typically use. And if you do eventually get onto Twitter, though, Josh, you'll want to get your account verified if there's another company with a similar name or another profile, so there isn't confusion down the road.
Okay.
You
That's
know.
good advice.
But we can find you on Facebook, though.
Yep. /NFC is in Not From Concentrate, SYS is in System.
And your YouTube channel, what's that?
Yep. Not From Concentrate.
All right.
/ Not From Concentrate.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching your series and how you really make it personal. And like I actually get a real idea what it's like to live there. But
hey,
Biloxi.
Whoa.
Hey, I've been through Biloxi before.
Yeah, see? Another person has.
Yeah, there used to be a casino, a boat casino, with like a pier that went out to it, and I think Hurricane Katrina
does not here anymore.
Yeah,
No,
I think Katrina took it like 5 miles inland to just pick this boat up and just washed it in. This big casino.
It's now in Alabama.
Well, we laugh, but sadly, a moment of silence for Katrina victims.
Oh, hey Bill. Bill, I know you're a big fan, so I don't know, can you see that?
Oh yeah, Blade Runner, dude. That's the paper unicorn.
Yeah, the origami unicorn.
Yeah.
So if you want some badass movie shirts, go to Last Exit to Nowhere.
Okay.
They're based in the UK, but they have all sorts of stuff from like Jaws to Blade Runner, to Back to the Future, like all sorts of weird stuff, like kind of nods to those movies. Like they use like company names that you would see from the movies, like Red Apple Cigarettes from the Tarantino movies. Oh, yeah. So it's kind of like, yep.
Yeah. I dig it. Yeah, I like that. Before we go on that topic, have any of you guys watched the Mr. Robot series?
That's on my list.
Check it out. I think you really like it. It's about a vigilante hacker that tries to take down this really evil corporation, which I'm totally behind. So.
What's that on?
It's on I believe the Showtime network. Yeah.
Okay.
New season starting up this year, so you can probably find the old season online somewhere.
I'll have to couch tuner it.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, thank you for hanging out with us once again. And just a little update, I won't be on for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be out of state for a while, enjoying some Florida heat. And but when I come back, we'll pick right back up. The other guys are going to try to carry on, and hopefully Google won't screw them around the way they did us.
No.
Oh, knock on wood. But I just cursed you guys. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. But you can find us in our usual haunts if you go to themodζoo.com, or if you hit us up on Facebook, it's The Mod Zoo. Twitter is The Mod Zoo. We have our Google Plus page, The Mod Zoo. Really easy to find. You don't go digging too far. Now, on the other hand, if you mistype it, you might end up on some websites that we don't claim responsibility for. So if that happens to be your thing, don't. You guys have a good night. Just go find something and mod it, would you?
Yes, hack it up.